Liam Lawson has taken the F1 world by storm, and it seems like he'll be a starting driver sooner rather than later. Although the 2024 seats in AlphaTauri are already locked up, and there is a very low possibility that Red Bull would buy Perez out of his contract and replace him with Lawson in 2024, the Kiwi has yet again shown his commitment to the Austrian team, and this time it might actually pay off heavily for him. After Perez's latest statement regarding his mental health problems, as well as his father's claim that everything in Red Bull is made around Verstappen, a replacement for Sergio might be well on his way in the form of a young and prospective driver that would sauce up things in the Austrian team. Now, it's not a secret that Lawson's performance in Formula 1 has been quite astonishing, because in his third race ever, he was able to score 2 points for AlphaTauri, the highest that any driver for the team managed to do so. Furthermore, he had 2 P11 finishes in Monza and Suzuka, meaning that he was very close to adding even more points to his name with a little bit more luck on his side. But the fact that he outperformed Tsunoda in every race they've been in so far speaks volumes about his potential and his future in the sport. Nonetheless, AlphaTauri felt like they don't want to risk another De Vries scenario and put a driver who's had a couple of good races as a full-time replacement for Ricciardo, whose experience would be integral in returning the team back to the midfield, or Tsunoda, who's finally started to pick up the pace in his third year as an AlphaTauri driver. Therefore, only one seat remained open for Lawson if he wants to race in 2024, something he strongly suggested after saying that he wouldn't prefer to be a reserve driver, and that is Williams. Logan Sargent's poor performance has brought a lot of question marks about his future in the sport, and him costing Williams around $4 million in repair costs shows just what kind of a financial burden he is to the team, bringing 0 points and taking away so much from the team's already narrowed budget. To top that off, his teammate Albon has 21 points and is single-handedly leading Williams in 7th place in the Constructors' Championship, very likely to finish there as well. And while this would be the perfect opportunity for Lawson to have 1 year of practice in Williams before he hops in the Red Bull seat, he denied the scenario publicly. When talking about a potential seat in 2024 in the UK-based team, the New Zealander went on to say, "I am a Red Bull driver. All Red Bull places are occupied, and this unfortunately means that I will be a reserve driver for the time being. Honestly, at the moment, I'm just trying to cut as well as possible in these races. I think when my bet is over, I can start looking at how I've made myself and what options there are, but at the moment, I'm focusing on these races." Well, I think we all know what place everybody related to Red Bull is thinking of when it comes to having a full-time seat in the Austrian team, the one alongside Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez's inconsistency and the fact that he has only a 33-point lead over Hamilton for P2 in the Drivers' Championship have put him in a very bad position in the team, and his latest statements about visiting a mental health consultant and returning home with lots of negative energy around his wife and kids after a poor performance during the weekend speaks volumes about his current standing with Red Bull. To top that off, his father said something quite controversial, something that has been rumoured by Mercedes for a couple of years now, but was never fully understood as a serious statement, considering the fact that they are Red Bull's fiercest rivals and they would do anything to destabilise the situation in the team. When talking about his son's performance in Red Bull, Antonio Perez, the father of Checo, went on to say, "Everything is built around Max. Perez has to respect that. The car is tuned for Max, who likes to have a lot of grip at the front of the car. Checo prefers grip at the back, but so he has to drive a car that is tailor-made for Max. Checo is second in the standings, and that is exactly the position he was hired for at Red Bull. There is only room for one world champion. He has huge fans all over the world and is the only driver from Latin America. Any brand in the world would be happy with him." Now, when the father of the second driver says this, you cannot turn a blind eye to the statement, because more often than not, Antonio has been this positive figure that many F1 fans loved, especially for his shared love with the rest of the drivers' fathers, such as Anthony Hamilton and Jos Verstappen. But when you come out with such a controversial statement, you're putting the team in quite a controversial position as well, because now they have to prove to the world that it's not the car's tuning, but Checo's underperformance that cost him the issues with mental health, as well as the performance slump in both 2022 and 2023. There is one way of doing so, and that is by replacing Perez with another driver who would either go on to prove Perez's theory to be the right one, or would push Verstappen to the maximum and therefore prove that Red Bull is giving both of its drivers equal cars, and it's just the ability of the driver to put it where the car needs to be. According to rumours that are becoming stronger and stronger, the only reason why Lawson is not accepting the seat in Williams is because he's been promised a 2025 seat after his amazing performance as Ricciardo's replacement in either one of Red Bull or AlphaTauri's vacant spots. Now, obviously, Ricciardo and Tsunoda are also strong candidates to replace Perez, not to mention Norris, who is yet to extend his contract with McLaren. So Lawson might be out of his league here if he believes that he would be placed alongside the Dutchman right away with just a couple of races of experience. This is something that Helmut Marko has spoken about as well, and when talking about the future of the Kiwi, the 80-year-old Red Bull's advisor elaborated, "Liam Lawson did everything right on his sensational debut. He will be a reserve for Red Bull Racing and AlphaTauri. He will work a lot in the simulator and drive an older F1 car for a while. Then he'll come into F1 more than prepared for 2025. You have to be prepared. We don't know if Perez wants to continue or not. We have to fill 4 cars, and you also need a strong reserve today. You have to be prepared." Regardless, his future is bright and clear. He would be part of Red Bull's family, and according to a medium that is very close to F1, lastwordsonsports.com, Lawson would have to sit out the 2024 season as a reserve driver and not risk being poached by Williams and then potentially overruled into a future Mercedes driver. At the age of 21, the sky is the limit for the young Kiwi, and with just 4 races under his belt, he's shown that there is massive potential that needs to be bruised with F1 full-time experience, unlike Sargent, who, although a rookie and has shown steady progress, has had a fair share of struggles in keeping the car within the white lines and costing his team a massive amount of repair costs. This would make the most sense for every side involved, as Red Bull would eventually come out with a driver that's been groomed in their own academy with vast experience in not only Formula 2 but Super Formula as well, and they already saw what he could do in the worst car on the grid as well. Replacing him with Ricciardo did seem to be a massive move for them, not only because they want to avoid another De Vries scenario, but also because they're looking at this thing from a long-term point of view, which right now might be the best thing that the Austrian team has done in quite some time regarding their choice of drivers. What seems to be an indication that things are slowly but surely moving in this direction is the fact that when asked about Logan Sargent being replaced with Liam Lawson in 2024, Warner said that he doesn't believe the UK-based team would hire a driver on a 1-year term, while Williams didn't specify that they would be looking for such a deal with Lawson. This means that 2025 may already be a guarantee for Lawson and his full-time F1 career, and judging by the latest statements made by Helmut Marko, Antonio Perez and Lawson as well, we're very likely to introduce a new driver to the F1 world. So, after hearing all this, do you think that Lawson would be signed by Red Bull in 2025 as a full-time driver? And if so, which team do you think he'll be put into? Let us know in the comments down below.